Hi, YouTube.
And he's gone. Good morning, YouTube. Today I want to talk to you about and review a detailed review of the 2013 TTRS. And the reason I'm doing the 2013 and not the brand new one is because I think there's things about the 2013 RS that you will appreciate. And also, if you like sports cars, it is the perfect sports car to get. All right, YouTube, as I said, the 2013 TTRS is the perfect sports car to get. And the reason I say that is that it is still a very, very nice sports car, but the 2013 compared to the 2018 is about $40,000 cheaper. So it is a car that you definitely want to get if you want a sports car, you want the performance of an R8, but you don't want to have to pay the new R8 prices. And it's kind of practical because it has a trunk. So I'm going to go over the kind of the detail specs of this car. This is actually the TTRS Plus. So you'll find some things that are going to be different if you're looking at just a standard 2013 TTRS. But I'll talk a little bit about that and show you just why I think this car is amazing. This is in Monza Silver Pearl effect. So it's pretty rare. This car is, I think, one of 50. But you'd be hard pressed to find any of these left on the market. As you can see, it has the sports tires and it has the RS brake calipers in the front. So I'm just gonna do a quick outside just so you can see. It's got the just black calipers in the back, but they are RS, so they're a little bit larger and more grippy than your standard TT or your TTS calipers. And then again, as always, it has the TTRS logos in the back. It's dual piped, but like with all the RS models, you'll see that it's actually kind of the optics of the pipe. It's actually a smaller pipe on the inside with the larger kind of the flourishes on the outside. But we're going to go inside, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the inside of the car. So the TTRS, as you can see, has a flat bottom steering wheel. It has all the things that you would expect from the RS line. So it has RS badging on the steering wheel and then RS badging on the speedometer, but it also has RS badging on the gear shifter. And also what is different about this car, as I said, this is a Plus, and they're like super rare, is that the Plus comes with an Audi Exclusive interior, which you can see from the badging on the doors. It comes with the red line seats, which you don't really get, so it's a dual contrast seating, and you get a slightly more horsepower. The regular TTRS comes with, I think, 340 horsepower. The TTRS Plus comes with 355. The difference between the European spec and the US spec, which was a campaign that they had to do, was that the US spec one is actually a stick shift, and that's why I keep showing you the stick shift. The European spec one was an automatic, S-tronic. So if you want a car that you can feel the road, this is like the perfect car because it's a six-speed shifter, and it is super lightweight and super quick. I want to say that the 0 to 60 on this, and I'm not 100% sure because, you know, I like cars and I'm a normal person, so I think the 0 to 60 on this is 3.9 seconds, which is actually respectable for a car that's, you know, almost 5 years old in terms of model years. So I'm going to start it up just so you can see what the display starts off like, and this car is just aggressive when it starts off. But the display, which is a nice display, and it's the Audi Navigation Plus, will start up with the RS logo. See? So it tells you TTRS right off the bat. So there's no real any other indications about the TT that will tell you that it is the Plus model, except for the fact that you know, it has this steering wheel. or not, excuse me, not the steering wheel, but the gear shifter and the Audi Exclusive panels in the doors. So when you're looking for a car and you're looking for TTRSs online, the fastest way to tell if this is a TTRS Plus is the gear shifter, unless somebody tries to fake you out with a different knob. And I think even when I got this one, when I selected this one from the dealership, the dealers didn't really know what they had. They knew they had a TTRS. They didn't realize it was a Plus and that it was like super rare. But as you can see, the speedometer is all analog except for the middle portion, and that's kind of the old Audi look to it. So it's different from the new Audis that have the virtual cockpit. But I again appreciate this kind of the analog aspect of it, because if you look at it, I mean, everything is analog and the sound is just amazing. So I'm gonna let you hear a little bit. I'm just gonna rev it just once. The car is just amazing, the way it sounds, the way it feels. And what I like about this car versus my R8 is that you can really feel the steering. The R8, I mean, excuse me, not the R8, but the R7, you can really feel the steering on this, because the R7 has kind of the electric feedback steering. This steering, you can actually feel the road. So if I'm going around corners and I'm going around curves, it's like super responsive. So I don't feel like I'm losing control of the car. And because it's so lightweight, but because the power to weight ratio is so good, I can throw it around the curves. Now, when we look at the kind of the digital display in the middle, it gives you just the basic information, but that middle display right now, what you see is actually the navigation. So if I have the navigation programmed in here, it'll show up on the nav screen here, but it'll also show me my directions here. But when you're not driving, it just tells you like your direction and what street you're on. So that part is actually kind of nice. Now, if you like to track your car, it has your boost meter. It'll do your track times and your lap times. It'll tell you your engine oil temperature. So that part is really good for people who want a car that you can daily drive, but you can also track. Again, the menus aren't as easy to use as the full Audi navigation, because many of the things that you would think would be controlled from here with the Audi Navigation Plus are actually controlled from here. So like if you want to get your, like I said, the tire pressure and things like that, you have to you'd have to do it from this menu, and so that makes it a little bit cumbersome, but other than that, it's not too bad. And then this is like the basic Audi stuff that you get with the temperature outside, your fuel left when you're driving, that amount of time driving, the amount of miles that you've driven, your miles per gallon, those kind of things. And like I said, Audi is really good about giving you all this information on all their cars. It just depends on how they display it. With the virtual cockpit and with the new MMIs, you get all that information in a kind of a very nice, colorful display. In the older Audis, you either have this display, which is kind of a nicer coloring, kind of a bluish color, but in the older Audis, it was all red, and so it looked very old school digital. All right. The doors, you can see the Audi Exclusive interior. As I said with my car, with the RS7, Audi Exclusive is just, I mean, they're at the top of the game. And this is when they first came out in 2013, putting out cars to show you exactly what was the extent of Audi Exclusive interior. The leather in here is like super supple, and then they badged it with the Audi Exclusive, as you can see. But what they really went all out to do, which makes this car different from your typical TTRS, is that they did the red stitching. Similar to my RS7 Dynamic Edition, they did the red stitching throughout. And so if you see the seats have the red stitching on it, and then it's the contrast on the back. So you have the two-tone. So normally you'll find the TTRSs will have just a single color, and then if you are really fortunate, if you got one of the 14s, it may have kind of the suede center in it, right? The Alcantara in here. The headliner is just a regular standard cloth. It's not the Alcantara. It's regular standard cloth. If you look at the lighting on here, it's LED lighting, as you would expect. If I close the door, you can actually see it go off, but it's LED lighting as you would expect. It'll eventually go off because I'm in the car, but it's LED lighting. You just push the button. You have your home link, which is your basic setup for your cars. Like I said, with the steering wheel, I love it because it has a sports steering, flat bottom. And then as you can see with me, I'm 6'4", I have a lot of room in here. No one could sit behind me for sure, but when I have my son in here, he's 6'1". There actually is space for people to sit in the back. All right, the other thing to notice about the car is that it does not have the memory seat thing. So basically it's just set for whoever's in here, but it does have, like I said, the several adjustments. Here's your buttons for your driver's side passengers, windows, and then here you can adjust the mirrors, so you can the mirrors are heated, so if you drive this car in cold weather, the mirrors are heated, but you can adjust the passenger side and the driver's side. The thing you cannot do though is that you cannot fold your mirrors in automatically. You have to fold them in manually. The other thing that I would say that with the car, especially with the Plus edition, the TTRS Plus, is that, like I said, the Audi Exclusive stitching is great. The one thing that they didn't stitch, which I'm surprised about, they didn't stitch the steering wheel, and I think probably it was an oversight, because everything else has, like I said, the red stitching that really accentuates the Audi Exclusive interior, but the steering wheel does not have the stitching, and that's the one thing in my RS7 Dynamic Edition. It does have the red stitching of the steering wheel, but like I said, I do appreciate the flat bottom steering wheel. And then the last thing is I want to come back to the lights, just because I wasn't able to do it earlier. When you touch it, it just comes on, and these are LEDs, and they're actually nice. The one thing that the TTRS does not have, and I guess that version of TTS and TTRS didn't have, is it doesn't have the cabin illumination that you find in the Audis. That's really nice. It's the LED lighting that lights the door panels and things like that. It doesn't have that. But other than that, it's super nice. Again, the bladed door handles, which are, you know, typical of the TTs and the RS line. So it's very nice. And then the brushed aluminum door handles. I mean, like I said, they really paid attention to detail. And then when you open the door, just with the classic TT, you'll notice that the window goes down and it comes back up. So when you open the door, when I get ready to drive off, it will the window seals, so it seals the compartment. Yeah, so if I open this, yeah, see, it seals it. Let's do it one more time so you can see it. Alright. If you're familiar with Audis, the steering wheel is pretty much set up like all the Audi steering wheels. Over here, your voice control for if you're telling commands to your navigation, this volume going up and down. And then over here, you can control let me show you. You can control your radio stuff. So like if you have your radio here and there, if I go to the radio section, I'm going to turn the music down a little bit so I don't have to, but I can control it. If you see, I'm on satellite radio and I can move it around. And then the difference between this car and some of the other Audis is that when you're moving this around, actually, oh, now the Bluetooth just connected. But when you're moving it around, it immediately changes the station, so that's problematic. And also when you change the station, like say I had the volume all the way down, when you change the station and you change to a different station, the volume comes back up again, which is kind of silly, but whatever. That's not too bad. So anyway, that's what I noticed about that. Audi, again, the standard, you know, they have the chrome around here, they have the brushed aluminum here, and the sound system, as I showed you, is the standard Bose sound system. The one thing I would have liked this car to have, and it just wasn't an option when they offered this car, is the B&O system, the Bang & Olufsen system. I find that system to be outstanding. The Bose system, which I also had in my Q7, it's nice, it's clear, you know, the sounds are crisp, but it's just not, in my opinion, loud enough. If you look down at the feet, you have, you know, your standard kind of aluminum look gear shifters and footrests right here. And then again, with all the cars of I think 2012 and forward, they had automatic lights, so you didn't have to worry about turning your lights off and on. It is like I said, it's fairly comfortable. The seats are really nice, as you can see. I really like the TTRS here, and having the Plus edition, the colors really highlight this, whereas when you have your seat and it's all one color, sometimes you can miss this. As I talked about with the headliner, it's not the Alcantara headliner, it's just a regular cloth headliner, which is okay. Again, that wasn't an option with the TTRS back in 2013, so that is a bit unfortunate. And then with the mirrors work with the navigation. As you can see here, it says we're facing a northwest direction. This faces a northwest direction, so you'll always have your direction in your mirrors, and they automatically adjust for oncoming traffic or coming traffic from behind you, so you don't get blinded. As long as you have this on, it will auto dim the car's lights behind you. The controls are fairly basic. Here you see the AM, FM, and satellite radio. Here's media, if I had any media things, but I don't have any devices connected right now. For telephone stuff, this is the telephone setup, the name if I wanted to search for people in my directory. The navigation, which is standard nav. If you look, it has the map. It doesn't have the Google Maps because it doesn't have, when I open this, I'll open it up for you. When I open it up, it doesn't have the Audi Connect. So this is the one thing it doesn't have, but it does have 2 SIM cards, so you can add music or you can do software updates. But because it doesn't have the Audi Connect feature, then it doesn't have the Google Earth functionality. But it does, as long as you have satellite radio service, it does all the traffic updates for you. So that part is really good. And then this is 3D maps. So that means if you're in a city and the 3D maps will show up, it'll show you the 3D maps for this car. And then the car info, as I said, it's actually pretty basic. This is the info that works with the Sirius Radio, subscription that shows you like anything going on. And then when you say car, normally in an Audi, when you hit car, it'll tell you all the things about the car, and you can do all the setup stuff here. This one doesn't work like that. Basically, when you hit car here, which is kind of interesting that it just has this one thing, it just tells you the version of the software you're running. And then if you do setup, they'll just say no car setups available. The setup button actually works. It's counterintuitive, but the setup button works with the different buttons here. So when you hit a certain button, like if I go to nav and I hit setup, it'll let me do all the settings for whatever buttons here. So unlike in some of the other Audi MMI setups buttons that are integrated or actually give you the overview, this button just works directly with the other buttons before it. So that's just something to keep in mind. The sound settings, again, it's pretty normal the way that the sound settings work. You know, it's just you have the balance, the fader, the treble, and stuff like that. But it's a Bose system, so it's actually always set. In some of the Bose setup cars, you can actually change the direction, like, you know, front, back. But because it's a 2-seater, it's a 4-seater, but really it's a 2-seater. They don't allow you to do sound in the front, sound in the back. It's just sound all around. So the glove box is here. It's pretty basic. In the glove box here, they have the drawer for your phone, and it uses the old Audi proprietary jack, but you can get the adapter for that, or you can get the Bluetooth adapter, which I have in there. So that means that you can use the Bluetooth adapter to connect to your phone for music. Because the downside of the Audi TTRS from 2012 to 2014 is that the Bluetooth is already pre-set up, but it only connects your phone. So if you want to connect your media through Bluetooth, you have to have the Bluetooth adapter, and you can buy that online. I think it's like $65 or $70, but it's actually, you know, it makes a world of difference when you're actually trying to do road trips and things like that. It's a lifesaver because you can play media, you play podcasts, things like that. So you want that, because if not, you have to leave your phone in there using the Audi proprietary connector, and you don't have access to your phone, even though it will come up here in the MMI if you have it connected that way. All right, with that, I'm gonna go to the trunk and show you, well, just really quickly, standard tray here for your phone or keys or whatever, and then also the cup holders here. Again, standard stuff that you can put here. a small ashtray, which I would never put any, even though it comes with the light, I would never smoke in my car. And then you can put like coins and stuff in there. And then, oh, here, I forgot to show you. So this is, you can turn traction control off if you really just want to go, you know, all out. And then the sports button here, what that does is it opens the baffle so your car is actually louder when you are driving around. But it also allows it to breathe more, and it engages the magnetic suspension. So the suspension will get really tight. Now, what I've noticed in driving this car is if you are driving around with the magnetic suspension on, you feel every bump. When you're driving around without the magnetic suspension on, you feel every bump. But with the magnetic suspension on, you feel every bump times 2. So unless you are on a highway, smooth road, or you're on a track, you probably want to leave that sport button off, just because the ride can be very harsh. As a daily driver, it's not bad. You don't feel like you're, you know, in a uncomfortable car. It's a sports car. As I said, the seats are really good. They're well bolstered. You can adjust, and they have side adjustments. And again, I'm 6'4", and I'm very comfortable. But you definitely don't want to ride around with the magnetic suspension on. All right, we're gonna go to the trunk. All right, now we're gonna look at the trunk, and I can talk to you a little bit about the trunk specifications. For a sports car, you're gonna find that this trunk is very, very useful. It has a lot of space and a lot of clearance, so you can go to Home Depot or you can go to IKEA and you can put stuff in there. The seats actually fold down, both sides fold down individually, and they fold down together, so you can fold the seats all the way down if you need pass-through amount for the trunk. And it is a kind of a nice option if you have to do stuff. This actually, you can remove this as well, so if you need to put stuff in there that's larger pieces of furniture, you can. But I'm gonna spin it around just so you can see how big the trunk is. But this trunk is actually quite huge. So if you look, you can see I'm fully in the trunk. I can put my legs in here. I just don't feel like removing this panel. But you can get fully in the trunk, and like I said, it's my son has actually been all the way in the back of this trunk. He's kind of, you know, like I said, he's 6'1", and he's laid down in the back of here. We did a road trip down to Atlanta, and he was trying to sleep back there. I don't know why he did that, but my other son was in the front, and he just folded both seats down and was sleeping in the back. So it actually was a pretty decent ride. And like I said, I did a DC from Atlanta run. It was comfortable, quick, and I really appreciated the speed on the highway. I wasn't really worried about, you know, big cars, because you could maneuver fairly quickly on the highway. There were a few cars that I think wanted to test their limits of their car to see if they were faster than this car, and this car was actually really quick. I think surprisingly quick for some folks. I think they didn't really understand the RS badging on it. They thought it was just a regular TT or TTS, and quickly got their feelings hurt. And I just wanted to show you really quickly the engine. It's the 5-cylinder engine, which is unique to Audi. It was the engine type that allowed Audi to dominate throughout the 80s with the original Quattro. The TT and the TTS come with the 4-cylinder engine, but the RS3 and the TTRS come with the 5-cylinder engine. And this engine is amazing. Like I said, the power to weight ratio of this car is just amazing. As you can see, everything's packed in here really tightly. But the nice part about the engine is actually that you can, it's actually exposed. There's only a few carbon fiber bits. Just with the front, as you can see, a nice kind of grill to the front. But really, that's about it for carbon fiber on this car. Unlike some of the other RS models that have carbon fiber all over, there's really not any carbon fiber in this car. But it's easy, I mean, I guess for people who really like to work on engines, because it's not covered like most of the Audi engines come covered, there's space to work in the engine. The last part I want to talk about is the way you can tell the difference between a TTRS and a TTS or a TT. The new ones and the old ones is by the wing on the back. The wing on the back is a fixed wing, unlike the pop-up wing that you normally would get. They actually disable the pop-up portion of the wing, and so you get the fixed wing on the back, and so that's the clearest indication that it is a TTRS. Anyway, Well, that's it for the TTRS. I hope you liked the video. Please let me know what you think, and if you think about getting one, hit me up with questions. With that, GB out.
Subscribe right below.